If Monroe seemed on the verge of a breakdown, so did 20th Century Fox. The once proud studio was teetering toward bankruptcy, reeling from losses produced by this film. Cleopatra. 2 years in the making on location in Rome, with an out-of-control budget and another frequently absent, notoriously difficult star. Initially pegged to cost $5 million, Cleopatra, with Liz Taylor and Richard Burton making love and war on and off the set, would eventually cost an unheard of $30 million to produce. So dire was Fox's financial condition that the studio was forced to shut down its commissary, stop watering its lawns, and pull the plug on all its productions except one.
All right, hammer!
Something's got to give. There was only one reason Fox was determined to make the movie: Marilyn Monroe. Though her last few films hadn't done so well, Monroe's name still represented at least the possibility of box office magic, and Fox was desperate for a hit. Besides, Fox could get Monroe on the cheap. The actress owed the studio one last film on a 1956 contract, a contract that gave her the bargain basement salary of $100,000, 1/10 of what Fox paid Liz for Cleopatra.
Studio executives began to worry. They couldn't afford to lose money on Something's Got to Give. Fox needed this film in theaters by October in order to help make up for the mounting debt caused by Cleopatra bills. In Rome, these same executives were handling Elizabeth Taylor with kid gloves, though her own off-screen behavior and frequent illnesses had created huge delays and extravagant expenses.
Listen, we gotta postpone this picture. I don't think she's gonna be ready. We're gonna start shooting in about 3 weeks. And said, what happened? She said, oh, no, you're being melodramatic. I said, I tell you, the girl is not able to do this yet. I said, if I came and told you she just had a heart attack, what would you do? She said, well, we would wait. I said, what's the difference? She says, she had a heart attack. We couldn't get insurance. With this, we can.
I understand there were 3 death certificates that were made out, and only one was used. The first one, I believe, said suicide ? And that was put aside by some political pressure, I understand, from the studio. And the second one said possible suicide, and the third one, which they used, said probable suicide.
That was very crucial to Fox's collection of the $13 million. Direct provable suicide would have negated a great deal of the insurance, particularly the $10 million in insurance policy with Continental Casualty. It was important for Fox, and as you know, they have tremendous clout with Chief Parker and in the coroner's office, that this certificate read probable suicide.
So both of you together, from your research, from the people you've talked with, from the hundreds that you've interviewed, you do not believe that suicide in one way or another whatsoever?
No.
No.
She was murdered in probably the biggest cover-up of the century.
Her death. You claim it was inadvertently caused by her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, and her psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, who you say conspired to control her. How'd they wind up killing her?
The death was a terrible, tragic accident, the result of a rectal infusion, an enema, if you will, of chloral hydrate, sometimes called knockout drops or Mickey Finn drops.
Let's set the record straight here real quick. I mean, she took enemas a lot of times to control her weight.
Yes,
so this was not uncommon. Okay,
that's
go
right.
ahead.
That's right. What she was given was a dosage of chloral hydrate, as the toxicology report shows. As the toxicology report shows, with this vastly discolored and purplish colon, which, as Dr. Noguchi and Dr. Miner have begged over the years, must be taken into consideration. She was killed as a result of a massive, I should not say she was killed. Killed, murderer are words I never use in this book. But she died as a result of a massive infusion of this drug, which interfered with the absorption and metabolizing of Nembutal.
Did Greenson and Murray know that it would have that effect on her?
Well, the doctor was a doctor. I mean, he had...
So why don't you call it murder, then?
He had been... Because murder is a word that only a coroner's inquest can use. He's dead now, and we can't have that kind of investigation. What we can do, what the biographer can do, is to set forth precisely what happened and give it a context. Certainly he was obsessive about this woman. They had a tangled and complex relationship from which she was trying desperately to extricate herself. In fact, she had made a decision to dismiss him, as she had dismissed the housekeeper.
You say they conspired to control her. How do we define control in this case?
Well, all one has to do really is look at the kind of conduct that they exerted. Both of them systematically attempted to sever Marilyn Monroe from all of her other close friendships. They asked her, in fact required her, the doctor required her to dismiss some of her closest friends. Ralph Roberts, for example, a man who was like a brother to her, said, you know, there's only room for one Ralph in your life, and that's me. We have this direct from Marilyn herself. This is a tactic of a psychiatrist that is dangerous in a therapeutic relationship and absolutely lethal in any other. So it's a tangled and difficult and dreadful relationship to try to chronicle.
Dr. Greenson took the secret of Marilyn Monroe's death to his grave. In a taped phone conversation, he told of the terrible burden he had carried.
I can't explain myself or defend myself without revealing things that I don't want to reveal. I feel like I can't, you know, you can't turn around and say, well, I'll tell you this and I won't tell you that. It's a terrible position to be in, to have to say I can't talk about it because I can't tell the whole story.
But he did give one tantalizing clue.